Abandoned bunker, Nazis, Satanists, human sacrifice. In this episode of Burbex Background, we're going to take a look at one of Poland's most brutal double murders and how it shook the country to its core, and how its effects are still felt more than a quarter of a century later. I am bonkers about bunkers. I've explored cavernous Cold War bunkers here in China. I've explored abandoned NATO bunkers in Czech Republic which still contain their original tanks. But when it comes to bunkers, Poland is the bunker mama. In March this year, I went on a deep dive into Reddit. Yes, I'm absolutely addicted to Reddit. 3 key words caught my eye: abandoned, Nazi, bunker, satanic sacrifice. How could a title be any more clickbait than that? I was hooked and went down a Reddit rabbit hole, which led me 2 weeks later to seek out the notorious
Bunker 44.
Built by the Poles, captured by the Nazis, abandoned, claimed by Satanists, and used for satanic rituals. Despite what people claim, it's not a Nazi bunker as such. This bunker was part of a defensive line called the fortified area of Silesian Poland, also known as the Polish Migno line after the French line against the Nazis. And this protected about 60 kilometers of the west-facing border from the advances of the Nazis in the 1930s. As part of the fortified line, Bunker 44 was in a key region for industry in Poland, and General Josef Zajec, fearing mining and production would fall into the hands of the Nazis, commissioned an interconnected line of fortified bunkers, many of which still even exist today. However, despite the impressive scale of the project, with bunkers that featured barracks, munition depots, guard rooms and more, Poland tragically fell in 1936. Poland tragically fell to the Nazis in 1939 to the advances of the Nazis, who later put the defensive line to their own use, upgrading and expanding the bunkers such that even today many people still misidentify these as Nazi bunkers. By the way, if you love bunkers as much as I do, you're going to love this Burbex Bunkers playlist. We got bunkers from China, we got bunkers from Poland, we got bunkers from Czech Republic. If you're bonkers about bunkers, check it out in the playlist in the top right hand corner. After World War II, while these bunkers were formerly seen as a testament to Polish resistance, they were largely neglected and forgotten, rusting away, rotting away, but so well built they were unable to die fully, like concrete zombies. Flash forward to the end of the last century, Ruda Śląska, the region still considered the industrial heartland of Poland, now suffered from widespread unemployment and a general lack of opportunities for young people outside of mining and factory work. It was out of this malaise that teenagers started to rebel against their Catholic roots and embrace the occult. All of this came to a head when 2 teenage girls were murdered in a satanic ritual, which took place in none other than Bunker 44. In the 1990s, there was a visible shift towards teenagers rebelling against the traditional Polish culture, where 87% of Poles were Catholic. Young people became entranced by metal music in its darkest varieties: black metal, death metal, doom metal. Many metal artists openly admitted to being inspired by the occult and even worshipping Satan. It was against this cultural backdrop a group of teenagers in Ruda Śląska became obsessed with the occult and dove headfirst into the realm of black magic and Satanism. In Halembra district of Ruda Śląska, the occult subculture was taking deep root, and the epicenter was hidden deep in the forest within the rusting hulk of Bunker 44.
By killing, I wanted to gain the favor of evil,
claimed Satanist Robert K. after he was apprehended by authorities. Alongside the so-called Master of Ceremonies, Thomas S., who was supposedly proficient in the dark arts, muttering Latin maxims, daubing satanic symbols and summoning demons. It was under Tomasz's watchful eye that the teenagers breached the edge of sanity. In March 1999, Tomasz, who commanded the group under the name Adam, after the first man cast out of paradise, made a proposition to his friend Robert K., involving a heinous act against God, a human sacrifice for special favors in hell. Tomasz was looking for just the right sacrifice, and who better than his 18-year-old ex-girlfriend, Karina M., and her best friend, Camille W. Under the guise of rekindling their love, Tomasz manipulated the two girls into attending the Black Mass at Bunker 44. On the night of March 2nd, 1999, Bunker 44 transformed into a chamber of horror. Candles burned away the shadows of the bunker, revealing the pentagrams daubed on the floor and the satanic symbols painted on the bunker walls. Tomasz and Robert conspired to sacrifice Camille to Satan using a sacrificial blade. Thomas S. ordered the girls to enter the pentagram, where they participated in a dark orgy of sex, drugs and alcohol before becoming the unwitting sacrificial lambs to Satan. Thomas S. ordered the girls to kneel at the center of the pentagram, where they were tied back to back with their heads bowed in subservience. Suddenly knives appeared in the two boys' hands, and Robert plunged the blade into Camille's body, who turned to look at him in pained surprise. The girls were no match for the boys, whose knives emerged, gutting the girls in a brutal sacrifice to Satan. Later, Robert confessed to the police,
I didn't think it would be so difficult to kill someone. Camille and Karina were kneeling while we were reciting satanic spells. Then I attacked Camille with a knife. I heard Karina being stabbed by Tom, begging me for help.
The attacks were so brutal that both girls received at least a dozen blows, and as Karina tried to defend herself with her hands, the knife cut right down to the bone. The rest of the blows pierced muscles and organs, leading to her death. The boys, surprised at their own violence, dragged the bodies to the second room, where they tried to burn them, a fact which they denied when questioned. Sobering up, despair engulfed Robert and Tomasz as they attempted to cover up the crime. But Robert K. couldn't bear it no longer and fled the bunker, sparking a series of events which would lead to their eventual apprehension. Once the authorities were alerted by Robert K., who could no longer bear the weight of the crime, the police descended on Bunker 44, where they were appalled to find the charred corpses of the girls surrounded by satanic symbols and spells. In the aftermath, the district court in Katowice sentenced Thomas S. to life imprisonment and Robert K. to 25 years in prison. Both Robert and Tomasz pleaded guilty to the murder, and Robert even went as far to apologize to the murdered girls' parents. When he was questioned by investigators, he said,
I am a true believer in Satan. I just wanted to know what was on the other side.
In contrast, Tomasz S. showed himself to be a real viper. In the courtroom, he showed remorse for the crime. However, the prison service intercepted a secret message offering 100,000 Polish zlotys for anyone who could help him escape, so he could intimidate Robert's family, scaring Robert into taking 100% of the blame. In the aftermath of the court case, Robert K. was sentenced to 25 years in prison, while Thomas was sentenced to life without parole, presumably for trying to pervert the course of justice. It's more than a quarter of a century since this heinous act occurred, but Bunker 44, also known as Satan's Bunker, still defies the elements. Despite being sealed up with steel doors and bricks, modern-day Satanists and thrill-seekers still break into the bunker to celebrate the death of the two girls and to refresh the satanic symbols daubed on the walls. The marks still show on the bunker walls where the girls were burned, and a faint stink of girls' perfume and rotten flesh pervades the bunker. If you want to find out more about Bunker 44 and the horrific events that took place more than a quarter of a century ago, be sure to check out this video where I explored the bunker and find out whether I became a victim of the two Satanists that I ran into.